extremely honored to be my son's father. And it's been a journey because sometimes the milestone being reached is yours, right? Your level of maturity and expectation, how
Yeah.
you learn how to approach fatherhood from a place of expectation, from a place of pressure, right? From a place of stress, right? We as adults get used to being tasked with certain things, right? Good or bad, right, wrong, or indifferent, whether we like it or not. We have to do things, and then we usually take that because it's the language that adults speak: deadlines, numbers,
Hmm.
projections. We put that shit on our kids, and I've known men to love their kids less because they weren't capable of living in that same rigidity.
What's going on, family? Welcome to another episode of the Fatherhood Village Podcast, the official home for proud fathers and mentors. I go by the name of Deo Holloway. As always, linked up with Kev Hick. How's life, brother? How you doing?
Man, it's good, baby. Peace and love.
Excellent, man. How's the fam?
Man, we good. Gearing up to try to get us a different house. We outgrowing this one. We had one baby when we moved in here, and now we got two, and they getting bigger and bigger and longer and stronger. So, we just trying to, get our moves together so we can get something that we don't grow out of.
Yeah, I love that, man. Hey, leveling up. Leveling up. That's what it's about, man. You got to show me some pictures, man, when y'all finally down to something y'all serious about.
Yeah, we all over the place right now. I just drove through this insane $1 million neighborhood. I think you called me while I was going through it. I was like, man, one
Yeah.
day that's gonna be it. But right now, I'm content with half that. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
we in the market. I got some money moves I'm gonna make and make it a very easy transition for us. I don't want to be house poor. A lot of us do that.
Yeah. Right, right. Yeah, that's definitely another discussion for another day. Nah, I feel you though, bro. I'm proud of y'all. Y'all doing it. Y'all doing the damn thing, man. Um, but listen up, man. We got a really good episode. I believe that a lot of you all would like. Obviously, you clicked on it, so we're going to discuss early childhood milestones, um, and we're going to kind of decide on, or kind of speak on how much do the societal developmental timelines even matter? Should we even be concerned with it? Should we really bother if our children aren't making these marks at the right time, if some delays in certain aspects, are they following a positive path in the big picture? I personally don't think we should trip over trivial things in certain aspects, but we'll ask and answer a few questions about ourselves and the things we're going through with our kids currently, some milestones that we might have found difficult, and which ones we're working toward right now. So, but yeah, I'll start with you, Kev. What are some milestones that you have found difficult to accomplish, like some big ones that you were like, you know what I mean?
Bruh, I'm gonna be honest, man. 100% honest, brother. Every single milestone in my house, with the exception of Noah reading very early,
Hmm.
has been a challenge.
Yeah.
When we had Noah in the hospital at 2 days old, when he was supposed to go home, he hadn't reached the first milestone of the first poop, which is a baby's second milestone. They're supposed to eat and then they're supposed to poop.
Right. Right.
He really didn't want to eat, so that was milestone deferred. And then he didn't poop, and then he had to go to NICU, and he spent 21 days in NICU with
Wow.
an intestinal issue. So, I think the first thing I learned about fatherhood and the milestones were that they are great on paper, but no matter what your little life chooses to do or not do based on society's rule or thought process or proven studies, none of that shit matters. At the end of the day, milestone and no milestone, you still got to come through and support whatever happens. And I learned that on day two that none of the shit that we think matters really matters, at least to your child or the life that you're caring for. So, obviously we all want the best,
Mhm.
but very, very few times are we ever prepared for the worst. And so it was an adjustment for me, especially as it pertains to thinking about milestones and, oh, my kid's gonna hit this, my kid's gonna hit this, my kid's gonna do this. Kids are never what we want them to be. They are their own individuals. Their bodies are their own. So I think that I like to leave that stuff in God's will. Because again, like I said, when I say every milestone, I mean every damn milestone. My kid showed up to kindergarten the first day, and he was like a month late starting kindergarten because we had to switch his school. So long story there, but he get to kindergarten. He's the last kid to get enrolled in that particular kindergarten, and the teacher started throwing that damn atypical word around, like it was his name. So
Yeah,
for us, man, milestones have just been something that we're aware of, but it hasn't hopefully built itself into the culture of how we train and teach our children because we want them to understand that they are unique, they are special, and they
yeah,
have their own powers. And in the same ways that he has not met milestones, he has succeeded expectations.
definitely.
Right. So, for me, that milestone shit means as much as straight A's. All the A students work for C students. So,
Exactly.
you know,
I believe that. Yeah, that's real. That's real. Um, yeah, to answer that same question, the ones that I guess we had challenges with, and I think the word challenge is kind of subjective. You know what I mean? It's nothing's going to be super easy or just kind of just done on its own. But one that stands out, I want to say, at least from my son, the potty training portion of things. And I think, like, you know what I'm saying, that's like the apex of like milestones, in the Tyler stage. So um and it's funny because at times it seems he gets to a certain point where we feel he's kind of getting over the hump and then he regresses. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because it was
yeah,
a time where he was pretty good at pissing in the toilet and just always shitted on himself, but he turned a corner, you know what I'm saying, on shitting, but then now he pissing. I'm just like, okay, hold on, what are we doing wrong? We messing up. Where's this gap? You know what I'm saying? But and that's another thing. I had to, have a conversation with the wife and say, hey, we gotta go at his speed. We can't rush this process. We can't make up a certain, deadline, or we can't go off of just one day of progression and think that he's just gonna, stair step his way perfectly. So
mhm,
just kind of, realizing the appropriate expectations and kind of not really having any, just kind of going with the
yeah,
flow, because you have to hold their hand the whole
absolutely,
way through. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So that's what I had to calm myself down, calm my nerves, get rid of the high expectations and the patterns that I felt which should lead to more success, and just
yeah,
go with the flow. Treat every day differently, and just encourage them along the way. Tell them the right things. Be there for them. You know what I mean? And that's what they really want to see. They want to see that you putting in that work too. You're not getting
yeah.
frustrated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Mother Nature don't give a damn about your deadlines, or
Yeah,
what the
exactly.
or what the doctor say he's supposed to be doing, or some
Hmm.
medical journal like that. That's just not how it works.
Right.
Potty training is interesting. You mentioned the inconvenience of him maybe making one step forward and two steps back.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like your kid ever played with his shit for a week. because
Not
mine
a
did.
week. He has though. He's
Like,
experimented.
but did he spread it around his crib like it
You
was
know
like
what?
it was some kind of blood oath that he was spreading
It,
across like
and
Passover? He spread that
and
shit around the crib like it was Passover, man. I'm like, what?
nice. You know what? Oh man, he gonna get older and get mad. I told all his business, but so he was in his diaper. I don't know if I was home, busy, right outside of the house doing something. I'm not sure, but I was told, or I came down after my wife had seen it. This man took his diaper off, shit it on the floor, or actually he shit in his diaper, took the diaper off, let the shit fall out onto the carpet, tried to pick it up, made a mess trying to do that, smearing it, trying to, in his mind, he cleaning it, but he smeared it in. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So he had something like that. He had
yeah,
an episode
nah.
similar to
But
that.
see, but cleaning was the intent. My son was decorating.
Oh, okay.
Like that. There's a whole
Okay.
like man, again, milestones, right? He had with the NICU stuff, he ended up having something called Hirschsprung's, is when a segment of the intestine does not have the nerve endings that move poop along. And it's just like a segment where it bottlenecks because it's too smooth. Well, he ended up having a surgery when he was 3 months old and 8 pounds. We've been through a lot with that, but he made 100% full recovery. No sign that he ever went through it. Um, but
Okay.
even so, because of that surgery, it was expected that he would potty train a little later. So while
Mhm.
some kids can potty train at 3, Hirschsprung's kids can sometimes potty train at 4 because they have to have an anal surgery that it's rough on their body, and so it slows the process of control, sphincter control down. I don't think he had too much of a delay, but I can tell you the road was rough. Just in that, I mean, speaking. Both of my sons right now are in speech therapy. Apparently, according to some book and some doctor, they supposed to be encyclopedias by now. My
That's
son read,
crazy.
my
Yeah.
son reads like a second grader, but if left
Wow.
to his own devices, he speaks like uh, I suppose of 4-year old, and he's 5. So
Yeah.
he's in speech therapy. The challenge of fatherhood is accepting the limitations that aren't within the control of your child, and
Mhm.
not making them feel inferior for it.
Right.
Um, trying to show them that you support them in their process of growth and evolution.
Yes, sir.
The worst thing we can do is apply our arbitrary standards based on our egos to our children, and then allow them to start feeling like they themselves aren't good enough as they are, or that their evolution somehow or another, again, like the teacher always is atypical. I don't want
Mhm.
my son thinking that what he is and what he represents is somehow or another in comparison not good enough or atypical. So I spend a lot of time, because every milestone seems to be a little bit of a challenge, in some way or
Mhm.
another, to one of my sons. I spend a lot of time speaking life into them and making sure that despite whatever their challenges might be, they feel whole, they feel complete. They're proud of the things that they do very well. They're proud of their gifts. They expect the greatest from themselves, and they believe the greatest about themselves. I spend as much time, speaking that life into them and speaking that abundance into their mindset as I do trying to help them evolve out of the things that they may be weak at, or the things that are the milestones that they might not be hitting. My sons are very extremely, both of them are extremely intelligent, but they both have their challenges, and in comparison to what is supposed to be, typically, achieved, they have some challenges in certain areas. My son reads like a second grader or a third grader. He's 5 years old, but he doesn't comprehend very well, right? So
Mhm.
he can
Mhm.
read the words, but comprehension is his issue, because he's just reading the words, and he
Yeah.
he doesn't think you have to do anything else with it. He's like, that guy
Right.
got that did it.
Yeah.
Would you just read? He's like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that takes time too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So
Yeah.
it's just all of those things matter, man. And what matters is that you support your children and give them the best tools that not only do they reach those milestones, but they do so unscathed and undamaged by the result of people judging them and criticizing them along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I agree. I agree. And another thing we have to be wary of is looking at it or internalizing it as if it's our fault or we're not teaching them correctly. We can't get down ourselves about it either,
Yeah.
let alone feel as if it's the child's fault.
Right.
So like we alluded to earlier, man, it's a team sport. It's something that you have to do together. That's the whole premise of a family. You know what I mean? A lot of things that we accomplish together. You can't do it alone. Lifting each other up, like you said, speaking life into them, not taking life too serious, man. You gotta
Yeah.
laugh at it, find the humor in it, smile, and don't bring those same problems and issues into the next day, man. You definitely gotta, see the light at the end of the tunnel, and embrace it. Cause,
Yeah.
like a lot of, I learned, it's like I learn and I see and I observe from my own father, cause he would say like, hey, um, you know, you're not as young as you were yesterday, you know, uh, and how quickly I grew up, matured, and became more independent. And he would remind me, like, hey, man, um, I know you used to be, such a adventurous guy, a small kid. As soon as I had any type of freedoms, you know what I mean? I kept, you know, inching and inching to go further and further with it, going further and further away from the house. You know what I mean? Staying laid out with my friends and testing the limits and testing the waters and things like that. So, they grow up fast. They're gonna be adults longer than they're gonna be kids. So just, you know, embrace it. Like I said, hold
Mhm.
on to it. Um, you won't have these days for long before you be old and they be on their own, and
Yeah.
you wishing things went a lot slower. You calling
Yeah.
them all the time. Hey, where you at? You coming over today? Or you?
Yeah.
All
You
right,
gotta
you gotta let them be adults and let them, live their own lives. So,
yeah.
um,
You gotta
like I said,
embrace the grind, man.
you do. You do,
Yeah.
man. Take every opportunity. And like I said, the more things you put off, the more things you dismiss, it's gonna catch up. And you don't want to live regretful and thinking like, dang, man, why did I ain't just, you know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
yeah, you got
Yeah, worried about them dumbass milestones and, to a degree, the school system and, all of these other tasks that are put before you as a child or, as a child, but also as a parent, it steals this time away from you if you're not careful, if you're not focused on what really matters. That relationship, that bond, that influence that you have over your child, that superpower that you possess to them, right?
Mhm.
If you don't build on that and nurture that, when they're old enough to become a danger to themselves in much more severe ways than a kid is stupid. A kid might bump his head or endanger himself with a dumb idea, but a teenager can get into some real trouble. A young
Yeah.
adult can get into some real trouble. And so if you miss these opportunities by trying to keep your kid busy with milestones or again, to a degree, school activities and stuff like that, there's a fine balance between, growing your children through hard work and through responsibility and things like that. There's a fine line between that and really just missing the moment and not allowing them to have it and not enjoying it for yourself. And so, with those milestones, whatever they might be, um, just make sure that you realize that they aren't the first priority. The first priority is making sure that you build a good person, not
Mm.
the most efficiently growing person, not the smartest person, not the most gifted person, not the most talented person. You build a good person.
Right.
And so that's the milestone that I focus on most is what type of man my son's becoming. And I'm very proud of the man he's becoming. I'm
Yes,
very proud
sir.
of that. He's 5 and my other son's 3. We don't know a lot about what my 3-year-old's into yet.
Mm.
He's mildly autistic, so we won't really know what his thoughts are for quite some time because he's mostly nonverbal, right?
Mm.
So you talking about milestones? My God, when I say every milestone has challenged me because your kids don't come out as carbon copies of you sometimes, right?
Exactly.
Especially for those of us who really enjoy ourselves and want our kids to be just like them.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always how it works out, and that has to be okay, right? And for me, it is. I love my son, and even my youngest son, though he's autistic, he's obviously observably gifted. It's not even
Mm-hmm.
like it's not a deniable fact. Even all of his, the people that work with him, his early intervention specialists and stuff like that, they look at him and they're like, I don't know if I've come across a kid this bright and this intelligent and this smart and tactical, and also autistic. I've not come across this. So while he hasn't done very well with many of the milestones that a 3-year old should have accomplished, he's definitely done very well in areas that are not necessarily natural for a 3-year old to accomplish. I'm extremely honored to be my son's father. And it's been a journey because sometimes the milestone being reached is yours, right? Your level of maturity and expectation, how
Yeah.
you learn how to approach fatherhood from a place of expectation, from a place of pressure, right? From a place of stress, right? We as adults to get used to being tasked with certain things, right? Good or bad, right, wrong, or indifferent, whether we like it or not, we have to do things. And then we usually take that because this is the language that adults speak, deadlines, numbers,
Mm-hmm.
projections. We put that shit on our kids. And I've known men to love their kids less because they weren't capable of living in that same rigidity. And
Yeah.
so, for me, it was an immediate learning lesson that okay, I don't get to decide how his life goes and how he develops as a person, or I'm sorry, who he develops into. I can do my best to give him the tools to evolve him, but I can't decide how fast he goes, how fast he learns, how fast he grows, how fast he evolves, right? I don't get to decide his evolutionary process. And no matter what it is, I still have to be a support vessel for him. I still have to love him. I still have to make sure he understands that I'm behind him every step of the way, no matter how hurt I am by the plight that he might have in front of him for being mildly autistic, or, no matter how disappointed I am for him that he can't have the fullness that everyone would hope for any of their children, right? You never
Mm-hmm.
hope that your first son is born with an intestinal condition. You definitely don't hope that you deal with autism as an issue.
Right.
But when those life hurdles come, the milestone is then yours. What does fatherhood mean to you despite the challenges? What
Yeah.
does fatherhood mean to you despite the plight of the issues that you go through? What type of father will you be to a child who needs you a little bit more than other children need their fathers,
Yes,
right? Like
sir.
that means something. And so, for me, I think the milestones have mostly been mine, even though my children are the ones being evaluated. The milestones are mine.
Yeah.
My 5-year old, doesn't have autism, but he has his own challenges. He's a unique individual, lovable, great. He's loved everywhere he goes. He has the gift of gab and charisma, but he has his challenges, right? So, milestones are something to be taken with a grain of salt. I think
Mm-hmm.
that grooming our kids as individuals and self-loving people with high self-esteem, high self-respect, is the best method for fatherhood, because the more confident a child is, the better off they are, and the more likely they are to achieve those milestones. As arbitrary as they might be, a kid that likes himself and feels good about himself and believes in himself is going to try a little harder, dedicate a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
or you know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
they'll get farther along a little bit quicker once they realize they control their fate.
Yeah.
So it's just about building that awareness in them. That they are spirits with bodies, not the other way around. That the world around them might judge them, but it doesn't matter as long as they don't judge themselves as harshly as the world might judge them. And
Mm-hmm.
even if the world loves them and applauds them, it doesn't mean that they've earned it. They also have to be a good person. You have to
Mm-hmm.
instill in your kids a basis of morality and integrity and character. And again, those are the milestones that matter the most to me. Uh, I can't tell you if I give a damn about him getting a B or a C, because I really don't. But I do care if he's dishonest. I do care if he's a swindler, if he's a liar, if he's a cheat. I do care if he manipulates, if he hurts people. I give a fuck about that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to build a good person, and then from that basis, I can build in him some financial education, right? Some knowledge of self, some culture. You understand what I'm saying? Some love of self, and we can build him into a great man off of those things. But I don't give a damn about society's milestones. They haven't served my house very well.
Not at all. Not at all. And I've been a victim of, like I said, kind of rushing the game, not slowing down, thinking that they can move at the pace of a kid that's 2 to 3 years older than they are. So, um, like I said, there's some realization and knowing what the bottom line is. Like you pointed out, what type of person are you raising? What type of person are you building? um, you know, things that they're going to grow older with, knowing, um, as a person, what their morals, their principles, the values that they set forth, their virtues, things of that nature. What do they believe in? What do they know most about themselves? The confidence, and that, like I said, that it comes from that overwhelming support, that unwavering, unconditional support. You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's a direct reflection of you in a lot of ways, and you can grade yourself in some aspects of, if you look at these milestones in a particular fashion.
Right.
um I mean, it's okay to, maybe glance at a list of things for their respective age, and kind of know what's out there, if you're in search of certain goals or certain things that you want to reach for,
Yeah.
to continue the path moving forward. But setting a deadline, and acting like, well, they're 3 and they're not checking off all the boxes, who cares? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? What do they
Well,
think of you? What do they think of themselves?
hmm,
And like you said, those things will come. They will grow.
yeah.
Um, every day they're learning, a
I
lot of things.
I
They
look. I haven't met an adult that wasn't body trained.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
You
Like
know what I'm saying? It's
I
gonna
haven't met.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good
So,
point, man.
like
You
all
know
of
what
these
I'm saying?
things, they have their purpose, and I think that my point is that not that milestones aren't important, right, or that you shouldn't care about them, right? Any well-meaning parent cares about every aspect, and they kind of hover parents a little bit until they get used to the challenge of parenthood. I'm just saying that for those of you who have expectations that aren't the fault of your child, it is wrong to pressure them based on
Mm,
your expectations or your ego, because many of us parent with our ego. We hope our kid is the child prodigy. We hope our kid is the greatest at this thing. We hope we can go brag about our kids doing this thing faster than other kids, and doing this thing faster than other kids. And we all have a dream of our kids just living like life, having the fullest experience, having the greatest, most efficient, most loving, wonderful experience here. But we apply our ego to that, and most of the time our ego compares our kids to other kids. The first thing I realized in fatherhood, 2 days into that hospital visit, is that I could never compare my children to other children, because it will only serve to hurt me, and
mhm.
by virtue hurt them, because I will attach that resentment. If I was to carry resentment, if I was to be affected, if I didn't learn the lesson that my children were individuals uniquely, wonderfully made, if I didn't learn that lesson, then I would ultimately project that same anxiety and resentment into them about themselves. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So it's just about love and accepting whatever kid you get, and learning how to grow them from that place that strengthens them the most, because it's not about you anymore. It's about them. And that's what the milestone thing is about for me, is realizing that their milestones are my milestones, but it's never my ego, and it's not their ego. There's no ego attached to it. You know what I'm saying? You just
mhm.
you give them your best.
You have to.
As Yeah, and that's it. That's the milestone.
Yeah,
Giving them their best, giving them your best despite, whatever challenges.
exactly. Yeah, that's the game that we're always gonna preach, man. Giving fatherhood your all, giving it everything. You don't leave anything in reserve. You know what I mean? Put it all out there, man. That's your kid, man. You know what I mean? What you holding back for? There's you know what I'm saying? There's no explanation, excuse good enough. You know what I mean? As to why you wouldn't. So, but but yeah, man, for those out there that are struggling with that, like I said, just kind of let some of this sink in and just understand that it's not as big as you think it may be. Don't let it kind of overshadow the development that they'll have later on in life as they get older. It's a lot of great things that are coming your way as a father, man. Don't let um these what you may call downfalls as far as milestones. Don't even look at it like that. It's nothing to trip about. You shouldn't feel bad. Don't even have your children feel bad because there's something they're not getting what the CDC has up, you know what I mean, at a specified time. So just relax, man. Continue to do your thing as a father. Continue to be great. Do what you always been doing. You know, but yeah, man, that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for this episode. And any closing words, kid?
Shit, man. Just, like I said, whatever happens, whatever challenges, whatever milestones do or don't happen, man, just love them anyway, man. That's what this fatherhood is about. It's about being a rock for your family. And sometimes they gonna need that support because the world won't give a damn about whether or not they have great self-esteem, whether or not they're strong people, whether they're good people. The world will attach judgment to them everywhere it goes. It's like flag football. The world is gonna take every bit of self-esteem that hangs from them. And so
Mm-hmm.
you got to make sure that you're there to rebuild them. You got to make sure that you're there to build a base that's too strong for them to be knocked off of. The world is going to remind them of the milestones. Just as my son, when he was in school, was reminded every day about where he failed in certain areas that other kids were doing better. And then when he started reading for the class, other kids were reminded about where they failed and how they were inferior based on somebody's scale of behavior to my son. And I don't think that any of these children should be feeling inferior. Now, I'm not one of those soccer dads. If your kid sucks at soccer and he's getting his ass whooped, he should take that damn L. but but none of those L's should be related to how he was made by God and how good a person or how worthy he is as an individual. I think that sports and uh, you know mental and emotional stability are very, very different things. And so, I don't think that the children should be learning that they're inferior to people just because of some doctors or CDCs or, pick a health organization's milestones.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, man, for those listening, hey, family, make sure you follow us on Instagram. We're at the Fatherhood Village. We're on Twitter at Fatherhood News. Check us out, man. We appreciate the support. Make sure you subscribe. We appreciate you listening to us. We have more great content on the way. If you have things you want to suggest to us, uh, Instagram is probably the best way to get at us. We're going live actually this Sunday on Father's Day. You can probably catch us around 12 noon Eastern. So look out for that. We'll take on any questions that you have. It's going to be pretty much our first time going live. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, man, just want to get some interaction real time. Like I said, just hear from you guys, see what you have to say. Like I said, we're gonna keep this conversation going, man. So without further ado, man, we out. It's your boy Dale Holloway. That's Kev Hick. Peace and love.
Peace and love.